Everyone's like, oh, look, here comes Pensy Joe bringing the Pennsylvania stuff because really test the LED in the headlight, but we'll take the sit
quite well by all. Regular combination, she's all that's tender.
Cheat at 10. Proceed to 15. Hey everybody, this is Pensy Joe back again for another video. Today I'm going to be doing a little bit of a preview between the new Paragon 4 or Stealth Series Q2s that Broadway just came out. I finally got these, finally. It's been a long time in the making for this to finally happen, to get them. And I got my Paragon 2 era Q2s right here. I won't be running these yet because I do not have 21 pin decoders for them yet. So really I'm just going to be looking at the differences between the models themselves, and already you could probably see some differences already. I won't be comparing these two and these two because these are the prototype versions. I do not have a Paragon 2 prototype version, and I will not be getting one because, well, I already got a 1361 right here, and I don't want to buy another 1361. So, no, not 1361, I'm sorry, 6131. I don't need to buy a Paragon 2 6131 and another 6131 I already have now with the Paragon 4 tooling. So, without further ado, let's go and look through the differences between the two locomotives. Alrighty, so first things first, this is the Paragon 2 one up here. These are heavily modified, both mine, the 6187 and 6195. For those who do not know, I've put TCS Wow Sound custom hard wiring inside these engines. I also gave them firebox flickering inside the firebox pan, the ash pan, and they look really cool. Some extra wiring that goes from the tender to the locomotive. The locomotive does have a cab light in the Paragon 2 version. I have seen videos of the Paragon 4 version, and they also have cab light. However, they do not have space to do firebox flicker on the where the ash pan is and the bottom of the firebox. But we'll get to that in a bit when I have my locomotive cradle to look on the bottom side. Already we can tell the difference between the tenders. This has the longer shrouding on the older version. This is the 18,000 gallon. I don't correct me if I'm wrong. I don't know everything about PRR tenders. I know a little bit, but I don't know all, like, down on, like, you know, I don't know everything about the tenders already. But yeah, you can tell that there's a difference between the Paragon 4 version and the Paragon 2 version. I don't know if there were other Paragon 2 versions that had the shrouding further up near the backsplash for the coal bunker, but I believe all Paragon 4 versions of the Q2s have the shrouding that goes over here just a little bit after the backsplash of the coal bunker. The coal in the Paragon 2 version, in my opinion, looks better. It looks more like coal, and then this is doesn't have like it's more flat. Although the other two Q2s have a different amount of coal in them as well, so it is what it is. It's not a huge deal when it comes to that. Now the details on the Paragon 2 for up here, which may be grab irons or an antenna. It might be an antenna. I'm not 100% sure what that is. It might just be grab irons and not an antenna at all. I do have other engines with the coast-to-coast tender that have the doghouse in the rear that I don't think has the railing on it. But the Paragon 2 version does not have an interior, and it does not have like a cab or like a light inside there. I have seen a video where there is a light inside the Paragon 4 version, and there is no crew figure in there, but there is a board up inside there. It's hard to see for an LED light in there, so that is pretty cool. Now, a couple of the major differences. These are both production versions, obviously. That's why I'm going to compare these two, rather than compare them with the two prototype versions that I have. First thing on the Pilot, there's this pipe right here, similar to what it'd be like over here, but it's like up front. I've not seen that on any of the steam engines I have. Somebody might tell me what that might be. I might have not. They're probably in the photos as well. I think it's only on one side. Yeah, I'm feeling the other side, and I don't think it has it. So if we look on the other side, yeah, it doesn't have that pipe right here. That is interesting. I've never seen that before. The Paragon 2 era, the original tooling does not have that. So that is very interesting. Also, the gunmetal gray on the smoke box is lighter on the Paragon 2 versions, whereas the Paragon 4 is a little bit darker. And I don't really care. I think they're both fine. It's not a huge deal for me. But if you look at the builder's plate on the Q2, on the original Q2, it's higher up on the smoke box than if we look at the Paragon 4 version. It's a lot lower, almost to the same height as the foot tread. And the foot tread here is more flat. It's more flat with the shrouding, with a bit of the streamlined shrouding, whereas the Paragon 2 version has a dip. That's interesting right there. Front details, I believe, are different. This thing right here is more further out than the Paragon 4 version, which is more tucked in under this grill right here. The headlights are different, where this one, that you don't really see the wires going into the headlight, and it looks like you could take the headlight piece off to access the LED in there. And I checked both versions, and this does not have a grab iron up here under the headlight, whereas the Paragon 2 version has that grab iron right there, which is interesting. The bell, I think, on the Paragon 2 version is bigger than the bell on the Paragon 4 version. The bell on the Paragon 4 version is a little bit more bell-shaped than the Paragon 2 version, where the Paragon 2 version looks more squished. It looks more like cone-like than this one. Now, which one is the correct one? I'm not sure. I have to look at more photos and stuff like that. Does it personally bother me? Not really. I mean, a bell's a bell. I'm not a super anal guy when it comes to detail specific stuff for steam engines. As long as it looks close enough to what the prototype is, almost looking exactly like it, that's fine. If there's some reasons they don't have the parts, that's fine by me as well. But when it comes to model accuracy, you want to try and make it accurate as model for the price. Right here we got some piping here. I think the linkage is on the right side, not the left side. So we got some of that piping here. Some of the stuff looks molded, I think, up here on the roof where these sand dome hatches are. And if you look over here, they're more pronounced on the Paragon 4 version. And I think the Paragon 2 does not have that middle bump on the steam dome. I think that's what the steam dome is right there in the middle. And that does not have that bump right there. So I'm not sure which one's more accurate. Now, all the Q2s that are in the Paragon 4 run that I have, including the prototypes, have that bump right there. These hatches, as far as I know, do not open. And I'm not going to... Yeah, they don't open. Which is fine. They still have the molded... I think those... I don't know if those are separately applied or if they're painted. But they're pretty much brass pop-off valves and safety valves. Same thing on the Paragon 2. Now, I have natural light in here, so this one does look like it's a little bit brighter, but I think it's the same color as this one. This is just a little bit more satin and maybe a little bit more black than this one. Although correct me if I'm wrong, but this paint seems a little bit more. I'm not sure. That's the problem. This is more like a matte satin fit. It's more matte than satin than this one. This one's a little bit more gloss in the satin finish. Also, these were also used to smoke at some point, and they're used when I got them. So there's some like smoke probably residue on it as well. These do not have smoke units. These are stealth. I don't think. If we look inside here, I did look and I tried to shine a light in there. It's pretty much hollow. So I'd like to see if I can figure out how to take off. I don't know if I could take off the front boiler or smoke box door piece and see if I can stuff weights in there at some point, or if they're fine without adding more. I did add weight to these, so if I did a weight comparison, it would be inaccurate to what you would get. So excuse me. I'm not going to really like compare like the weight with this and this. One thing to do know is that the original Q2s, the Paragon 2, this does have a brass trailing truck under the firebox. And the Paragon 4 version has a plastic truck, so you don't feel like a cold metal when you touch the Paragon 4 version. So how does I mean, at least I don't have minimize shorting problems. So the less chances of having shorting problems, the better. I don't really have any issues with shorting with the Paragon 2 versions. It's just when it derails, you most likely will have a short compared to like the Paragon 4 version if it derails. So that's something to probably keep an eye out about. But other than that, the Paragon 2 Q2s, they can handle 22-inch curve radius. They're not really like that complicated of an engine in terms of like issues that happen. I mean, I rarely heard issues about the Paragon 2 versions having like derailment issues or like gearbox issues or motor issues or anything like that. They're pretty solid models. And even then, you can find them on eBay for a pretty good price. If anybody's selling them more than the Paragon 4 versions, in my opinion, I would try to go lower, probably like around $400 to $500. In my opinion, is how much what they're worth. I got these like 3 or 4 years ago, the Paragon 2 versions. So when these came out, $640 for a stealth version is what I got for them per each. So you can do the math of how much I spent for the latest run Q2s. And these ones I got for around $800, the original Paragon 2 ones when I got them. And then I decided, I hate the Paragon 2. I don't like the sound, so I upgraded them to TCS Wow Sound, and they sound so much better. And they are much smoother from stop to speed. It's just the motor control with the TCS decoders are infinitely better than Broadway by a mile. That's why, I always champion to go with the stealth models if you can, because, all you have to do is just put a TCS 21-pin decoder and make sure you got all the lighting functions you want hooked up, and boom, there you go, and just program the whistle, the chuff set, the bell, and that's it. You don't even have to. I mean, the only thing you're gonna have to program with CVs or with like a controller is the address, and that's pretty much it. So, it's not a big deal. It's super simple. I have all that simple stuff at home. But in terms of that, I mean, there's still more details we got to look at. Look on the bottom just a bit. To look on the other side, I'm going to first stop it right here, and then we're going to look at the other side and continue. Alright, so now we're going to look on the other side. Obviously, I have some rogue cables going around, because some of them go up through the hole in the bottom of the ash pan of the locomotive on the Paragon 2 version, where I have the LED lights pretty much somewhere right around in here, in between the gaps. And there's enough room because they're pretty much sandwiched against the bottom of the sides of the motor. And hadn't really have any issues of the plastic melting, so of the LED lights in there. I use 5mm LEDs, which is good enough for me. You can do 3mm. It doesn't really matter as long as you have a 1K ohm resistor to make sure they don't pop. That's all that matters. So on this side, let's see if there's any real differences. The ladders and the drawbar stuff in the rear, these marker lights obviously will probably turn on as well, which is awesome. I like it when there's marker lights on the tenders of these engines. Not that much of a difference. This one, I don't know if the details fell off, but the hoses are missing. This one has the air hoses and the steam hoses on it, so that is awesome. I just looked at my other one, number 6195, the other Paragon 2 version I have. It does not have the air hoses as well, which is interesting. They could be used and they're missing, but I don't know if the original ones, if they actually had the hoses. I'm sorry for the darkness. I only have natural light coming from one direction. So on this side, you have this. I don't know what the heck this thing is. I don't know what that is, but that thing juts out a bit. You could try to push it back into place, but it juts out on the Paragon 2 version of the Q2, where it's kind of further out from the distance compared to like the drive rod linkage and all that stuff. So, and obviously this is an older model, so it looks kind of worn, which I kind of like. You know, it looks like it's been worn out and stuff, and it looks like it's also got grease on it. And I don't know if this is what somebody who like originally owned it did some custom work, but to me it looks pretty stock as much as possible. It's got some more molded on brass on this side. The drive linkage is separately applied, I think. Yeah, it is separately applied. Drive linkage on the Paragon 2 version is separately applied. Here's something going on over here. This up here does not open, but it looks like it's molded on or separately applied, but not as detailed as compared to the Paragon 4 version, which is this. I don't know if it's an electrical box or whatever, but there's obviously some stuff under there, and that looks pretty good as well. Over here on the Paragon 2, the whistle looks more gold than brass. Whereas, actually, you know, that might be a light brass, and then on the Paragon 4 version, it's more like a goldish brass color. To me, it doesn't really matter. It's fine the way it is. Oh yeah, if you look at the drive wheels, they're painted all the way to the very end of the wheel lip on the tire, which compared to the Paragon 2 version, it's got that gunmetal wheel color. Which is fine. It's not a huge deal. I could always paint them in the future if I want. But it creates an extra lip on them. It's more of like a lip and it's dished a bit, which is interesting. Whereas the Paragon 4 version doesn't really have that lip as much. In fact, you barely even see it, which I have to say the Paragon 4 version does better. And to be honest, in my opinion, I think the Paragon 4 version is a little bit more detailed than the Paragon 2 version. And it looks beautiful. I can't really complain about this one. Now, when we go to the bottom, there are some similarities to the chassis design compared to the Paragon 2 version. Now, the Paragon 2 version, where the gearboxes are located, are different than the Paragon 4. And we'll get that in just a few. I just got a couple other more details to point out. As we can see, we don't see that spout or whatever that is. I don't know if it's like a weep or a blowdown weep or whatever. Kind of like over here. This one's a little bit higher. On both sides on the Paragon 4, they're higher than the Paragon 2 version, where they're extended lower. So that's really interesting. The booster looks like it has more piping details on both sides compared to the Paragon 2 version, where it doesn't really have any piping details on the trailing truck under the firebox. And there's a lot more cold touch than this one. So, yeah. The front of the Pilot, the grab irons go out further on the front of the Pilot compared to the Paragon 2 version. Which, I don't know. I think I prefer the Paragon 4 version. It looks more like there's more going on over here. But yeah, I guess that's, in conclusion, I think the Paragon 4's like details are a lot more pronounced than the Paragon 2. And as you can see, there's like a grab iron right here, whereas the Paragon 2 versions do not. Whether or not that is accurate, somebody in the comments will tell me. And it's also got another one right here, another grab iron right here on the side, on the angled side of the backwash for the coal bunker. I don't know what it's properly called, the ramp or whatever. Same thing on here, doesn't have it. Even my other Q2, that's a production version, does not have it as well. It only has the ladder, and they both have the ladder. And here's the water scoop. It comes up like this, and then it goes right like that. Does that arc inside the tender. So also the coupler cut levers angled on the Paragon 2 version, where this one just goes straight out like that, and it goes up and down. I think this one goes up and down too. Yep, Paragon 2 version goes up and down as well. Cool. Alright, so next we're going to look under both the locomotives, and we're going to do some comparisons, and I will see if I can open the gearbox for the Paragon 4 version. I'm not going to open the Paragon 2 version. I'm just going to show a picture about it, just to see what you can see what it looks like inside that gearbox of the Paragon 2. It's a pain in the butt to try and put back together, so I don't really want to open the gearbox on the Paragon 2 version as much as possible unless I really need to get in there and do some serious maintenance, which I did to one of them. The other one, as far as I know, still had the lubricants on it, so I'm like, okay, I'm not going to really mess with it right now. Anyways, let's flip these babies over and do the differences between the both. Alrighty, we're looking under the Paragon 2 version, and as you can see, we got some etched metal, or laser cut metal, brake linkage details on this. For some reason, the front's missing some of those these pieces right here that hold them in place. It's been ran through. This engine runs constantly, so, well, not all the time. I haven't run it that much lately, but it's still got pretty good low mileage on it, as far as I'm concerned. This, I can't tell if this is plastic or if it's brass. I'm trying to do the cold touch test. Yeah, it's brass. This whole pilot is, this pilot frame is brass, which is pretty cool. Although it doesn't short when it touches, because it's got this groove even into the cylinders to go like that. So, unless that piece is plastic and it's connected together, perhaps. But, yeah, the frame. So here's the gearboxes, the gearbox covers. Now these are old school brass kind gearboxes. These are independent to the bottom of the frame cover. So you might see some old brass engines that have like gearboxes that are independent and they're connected by like a UV joint in between. And yeah, the Paragon 2 version has this weird thing that can get it stuck when it's hanging like this. And it's kind of hard to wiggle back in place. So when you have it elevated and it's dangling, you got to be careful to make sure it goes back into place. And then, as you can see, some paint chipping as well, which is not a huge deal. You're not going to really see it on the underside. But I also made sure it's lubed and it's got some like grease to keep it, loose and stuff like that, or be able to I'm going to tighten this just a little bit. Do a quarter turn. That should be better. Yeah, there we go. But, yeah, it's able to, like, move around and be able to freely move around when it, don't want any friction. Anyways, the tender is all brass construction. Everything is pretty much brass. The Paragon 2 Q2s were pretty much almost like a true brass model. Like, everything was pretty much brass except maybe the frame that's, like, this is like a brass plate right here. Like the cover is brass, and like the frame itself was actually like a die cast or something frame, and yeah, everything else is pretty much brass. This is pretty much the closest thing to actually being a brass model, and a lot of other brass hybrids that Broadway made were more so like brass hybrids, except I think before this, the Q2, they had like engines that were almost all brass. They had a brass series that's extremely rare, and I've only seen them a couple times on eBay. One of them was like a 484, like Great Northern S2 that was all brass at one point. And there was a big boy as well that they did a long time ago, but good luck finding those. But anyways, yeah, the details under here on this older version seem to look very detailed under here, especially on the tender. Some of them look like it's molded in and not separately applied. You also got like this, I don't know if it's wire conduits or something that's under here. They're not grab irons or whatever, but they're definitely like steam hoses or air hoses that would go all the way to the rear of the tender. And then there's like nothing to connect it to, I guess. I don't know. Really strange. These trucks are brass, I think, as well. Yeah, I think these are also brass trucks as well. Very interesting model for something that doesn't... I mean, good luck finding parts for these, but they're pretty solid models. These are pretty much like up there as like brass models that will probably last forever. I mean, these are already like a decade old already, and they still keep going. They run pretty silently, except, I don't know, I guess in reverse the motor makes some noise, but, you know, these engines mostly go forward most of the life, so, you know, I'm not expecting to go high speed in reverse, which would kind of be silly. The tenders on the Q2s for the Paragon 2, they're okay. I haven't really had any issues as much, although I've had issues at my previous club where it's probably just, you know, when I double head them, they don't have enough like wiggle room in the front because there's no real like sprung like box in the front on these Paragon 2 versions. They're not sprung. The couplers just freely move side to side. So you can get a long shank coupler, but even then you might have a long shank. It's a double head them if you want to double head them, which in real life they didn't really double head much, unless you are one of those people who like to look at like service histories and whatnot, and like look at job receipts. There might be a chance where Q2s did double head at one point, but it's probably unlikely. I like to do it on the other hand, so yeah, other than that, there's not too much different under here, other than, you know, I gotta pick something down there. The drive linkages are probably very similar, but we'll take a look at that once we get the other one on here. But yeah, and also this is like, you can see the LED. It just shines right there. There's an LED. There's one on the other side. There's a hole under here, and there's also a hole in the side to have the LED as well. The Paragon 4 version does not have that, and we'll look at that right now. Alrighty, so now we got the Paragon 4 version up on here. Got some dust. Oh, so this is now plastic. Now it's very different. Look at this frame. This does not look accurate compared to the Paragon 4 version. But you know, that's okay. I'm not going to look at the frame that much. Obviously, it's got like a contact plate, a copper contact plate, and it's sprung. Oh, that's interesting. Cool. So I'm guessing this does pick up contact. That's interesting. So it might be electrical pickup right there. And this is different. See, look. So now the gearbox is different. It's got the worm gear box right here instead of right here. And on this one, I think it was back here. And now we got traction tires. Paragon 2 Q2s did not have traction tires, folks. Now, it did have a blind driver right here. The Q2 on the Paragon 2 version does not have them. So, that's a plus. This brass detail feels like plastic, actually. Maybe it is brass, I don't know. But it's more pressed in, not as far out. The drive linkages look very similar, if not the same. I don't see that much difference with that. And this Looks very similar, except back here. I think this whole plate can come off, but I would have to untab the. I would have to untab. I don't know. Do I? Am I able to? Okay, so this version is just like the other Broadway engines, where you can just go like this and untab it. I think. I don't know if they have slots. I do not want to mess with that right now. What I really want to do is just, I'll probably just, all I have to do is just unscrew this and we'll be able to look under here, which we're going to do in a bit. I'm going to keep looking. But yeah, like I said, what is this? It looks like grease. Oh yeah, that's grease for the drawbar to keep it lubricated. But yeah, this is plastic, which is, it's not a big deal for me. I think that's fine. It's got some separately applied detail glued on there as well, which is for the booster truck. And I think the booster trucks are similar, if not the same. But, except this piping detail that's on the one side. And here's more of the underside over here. Got a different drawbar. You got two choices where it looks very similar to the S2's drawbar, except it had three choices where you can do of how close you want the tender. And these trucks seem very familiar. They're really closely like, they're plastic trucks. Yeah, these are plastic trucks. Very similar to the ones you see on the i1 Decapod and the T1s. So they pretty much did away with the brass design one, which in my opinion, I think is better, personally. So you don't have to deal with like shorting problems or anything like that, possibly. But they were insulated, so hey, can't really complain, right? Water scoop seems very similar. I think it's plastic. Yeah, this is a plastic water scoop. That's okay. Not a huge issue, really, honestly. This is more separately applied, this tank right here, and I think is also plastic, which is also fine. Not a huge deal. Tender shell is brass, and I don't know about the frame. Might be die cast, or it might be die cast. I'm not sure. It could be brass. I don't care. But it still looks good. It's got speaker holes similar to the other ones, to the other Q2. So that's all right. That's all right. We got our air pumps right under the shrouding right here on both sides, just like the other Q2. I like these pilot wheels painted. Thank God. Except the bearings are not painted, which is it's not a huge deal for me, but if you want to paint them, you can. You can always do that. There's always a choice to do that for sure. Same thing on these as well. You can do that as well. Trailing wheels, it doesn't really matter, but if you always want to do it, you can paint them black as well. And for these, you would have to open up the box in order if you want to paint them as well. But yes, I love it when they paint pilot truck wheels. And I'll be honest, they look better than the other Q2. I don't like that lip as much, that unpainted lip. But Broadway did a good job with the painting on this, I have to say. Slightly more green, maybe, or it's just a shade lighter and it's less, and it's more matte than satin. It's not a real big deal for me. Personally, I do like this one a little bit better, the paintwork, but I'm not going to really hate it. I still like how this looks as well. And probably in better lighting, it looks pretty good as well with older models with different like paint codes and whatnot. That's the thing with DGLE when it comes to the Pennsylvania Railroad. It probably wasn't super consistent. I could be wrong, but I bet it was probably not super consistent all the time. So without further ado, let's see how easy it is to take off this bottom plate. I want to see what's in here. I want to see what we have because I will show you a picture of the Paragon 2 version's gearboxes, and you'll be surprised what that one looks like, all right? That one is very interesting. is something that I have not really seen except in brass engines of old. And I kind of wonder sometimes if this is like a tooling that was reused or something from like a brass manufacturer or something else. It's probably their own, but yeah, it's one of those mysteries that I always want to know. Hopefully one day Broadway would tell, like, hey, what was that one? Like, okay, so this plate can't come off without having to take the drive linkage off. So let me see. Okay, so apologize. Let me try and make this a little bit more loose. There we go. I don't want to lose the screws. Let's see. Alrighty, and we got... There we go. There's a split frame right there. There we are. They're all... And they got plastic gears. Good amount of grease in there. That's beautiful. Plastic axle gears, which is not a huge issue. These are not the nylon gears. And there we go. Look, it's even split in the front and in the rear. Nice, nice, nice. And there's a good amount of wiggle room inside the gearbox as well. So that's what it looks like under here. Looks a little bit dry in the middle with these bearings, but I can always add more later. Everything looks nice in here. So that's what that one looks like. I'm going to put this back on top. It's good I don't have to take like I don't have to pull off the brake rigging. But yeah, I'm going to show you guys a picture of what the bottom of the Q2 looks like open. Alrighty. And with those two comparisons out of the way, I want to look at the prototype version. Now, the prototype version is actually very similar. But this is the one with a Fantasy Scheme 5 stripe. That's in DGLE. I did not get the Tuscan Red because I already have 6195, so it is what it is. Although this version, I really like this version. Look at that. It's got like a gold leaf, like a really gold color. It's very different than the other two Q2s. 6131 is the same as the production version 6175 that I have. And I have to say, it's not the same like as the Paragon 2 version. It's a lot more matte colored than like the gold leaf color. Oh my gosh, my words. And this is more like a gold, like a really dark reflective gold. Even on the side of the cab, it looks beautiful. It's a reflective dark gold compared to the other version. And for this version right here with 6175. Also, another thing, all the new Q2s do have that curved window, but they don't have the window right here with the driver and the fireman, whereas the original Q2s have full windows. There's no open windows on the original Q2s, everyone. So, that's an interesting detail I figured out. Also, the spoiler here on it must be like it must be something to do turbulence for the smoke or something. It must be like a vortex generator or some sort. I'm not sure what exactly it actually is. To me, it looks like a vortex generator or a ducktail spoiler. I'm not sure what it was used for. Somebody will probably tell me and be like, that's what it was used for. I'm like, aha. This has a grab iron, just like the Paragon 2 Q2. Right here, it's got this nice grab iron. I have to say, I actually I kind of preferred this painting more than the original one. I don't know, it just, it does look green. It does look a little bit brighter, but I don't know. I kind of think I like this version of the paint more. I don't know. Maybe in the natural light it looks better. It's not glossy. I don't think in real life it was as glossy. But yeah, I really like this 5 stripe right here. In my opinion, I think the DGLE 5 stripe on the Q2 looks better in DGLE than the Tuscan Red. I've seen somebody show me a picture of the Tuscan Red one. And I thought it looked all right. It didn't look bad. I mean, kind of looks funky, but at the same time, I think I still thought it looked all right. And I couldn't get it anyways because I don't like to get clones, and I don't want to sell the Paragon 2 version because I put money into it to make it perform the way it is now. So I'm happy with that. Obviously, we have the full shroud that goes over near the snifter valve, whereas the production version does not have that full shroud anymore. Same thing in the production version, on the Paragon 4 version. And it also has those Paragon 4 extra details as well. And that's one of the few major details. That's all the difference between the prototype is the more skirting that's closer to the snifter valve. And I guess the reason why they got more of it so they could reach more so to the top of that the air pumps. And I can understand that. And yep, still lower, closer towards the walkway than on the Paragon 2 version. But yeah, it's a really nice paint job. Very beautiful. If they were going to add like LED, which there it is, there's an LED pad up there. And there is a wires near the back against the back of the doghouse. They could have put a crew figure in here. That would have been nice. Just for extra, but that would probably, I don't know if that would up the price. Hopefully not that much. Now, I've heard somebody said that there's some wobble and sometimes in some of the tenders, and they use like a KD washer, kind of like those like red washers I have here. I could probably use that to help stabilize the wobbling so it doesn't wobble the tender as much. I haven't really checked that out yet because again I don't have the decoders yet. So once I get the 3 decoders for these puppies, they'll be able to triple head together, which would be nuts. Some people are like, well, are you gonna quintuple head? I'm like, I can't because these older versions have a different motor and their gearboxes are different. So it would be nice, but I don't want to have to try and speed match them. So I'm okay with triple heading. Or, just doing regular double heading. Or just doing what they were doing in real life. Only doing one locomotive and 125 car freight trains. And that's what they typically can do. They can do 125 foot long, or not 125 foot. That's the length of the locomotive almost. No, it's 125 cars at 50 miles per hour, but these things can go 70 miles per hour. But Penske wanted to keep their fast freight at 50 for some reason. As much as I love this railroad, they had their faults, and it is what it is. I do like the black and steel of the drive rod linkages. That is really nice. I like that. I really do. Oh, because and the way the light reflects off of them too. That is interesting. I like it. Anyways, guys, that's my simple preview comparison between the Paragon 4 and the Paragon 2 Q2s. To open the tender shell, it's really simple. I mean, I'm not going to really look in the inside of these as much. I don't really have a reason to. Paragon 4, for the most part, has done a pretty good job making reliable motors and drivetrains as far as I know. I haven't heard any huge issues of like stuff locking up, so that's good. I haven't heard any issues yet, but if I wanted to get into that, I could do an in-depth review on these at some point if anybody's interested. I don't personally want to do them anymore because I don't know. I feel like there's other people out there that could do a better job than I could ever really. I have a friend who's really good at doing in-depth review on stuff, and if he ever gets a hand on one of these at some point, or maybe he can come down by me and maybe he can do the in-depth review on it. I don't know. We'll have to see. My main goal is to try and build a layout. But yeah, that's my comparison, guys, of these beautiful engines I have. I mean, they're excellent. I didn't bring up 6131 to show because it's basically this, but with this unique fantasy scheme. And to be honest, I like the term that Scale Trains does, it's not fantasy prototype. It's like a prototypical what if fantasy scheme or whatever. I forgot what the Scale Trains calls it, but I like to call it what this would be. It's really fancy looking, and I like it. Anyways, guys, without further ado, I'll see you guys in a future video down the line. This is Pensy Joe signing out again. Till next time. Bye now.
The hill and by the shore, hear the mighty rush of the engine, hear the lonesome hobo squall, riding through the jungle on the Wabash Cannonball. Now here's to Daddy Claxton, may his name forever stand, and may be remembered in the courts throughout the land. When his earthly race is over, let the curtains round him fall. We'll carry him home to victory on the Wabash Cannonball. Oh, listen to the jingle, the rumble and the roar, as she glides along the woodland to the hill and by the shore. Hear the mighty rush of the engine, hear the lonesome hobo squall, riding through the jungle on the Wabash Cannonball.